Hello everyone, Burb here. If you forgot that Leo Cup registration day is tomorrow, well, you are in good company because so did I. This is the Leo Cup Procrastinators Guide, the guide for those who haven't even started with the Champions meeting yet, which also includes me this time. When the Champions meeting is starting to come to a head, I try to have a little bit of fun. I try to compress all of my guides, my over 2 hours worth of guides, into one singular video. And by having a little fun with it, I try to do it in a speedrun format, which means I'm going to be giving myself 5 minutes to try to go and get as much information from all my various role guides as well as the overview into this one small video. After I do that, I will be going through a couple of characters that I find are rather quick to build that you can just run in 1 or 2 runs. Try to hit your sprint S. If you hit your sprint S, usually the rest of the stuff is either in the kit or easily acquirable through cards. I try to do at least 1 per style, although this time it will be rather pace heavy as a little bit of a spoiler. As I said before, the full guides are available. Those go into more of the learning aspect, telling you why things work, trying to teach you how to analyze stuff and analyze the Champions meeting from scratch. This one, I do not have the luxury or the time to tell you why things work. I'll just be saying what works and what doesn't. If you're looking for more of that, go and look at the various different overviews or role-based guides that goes into it. So give me a moment just to grab a drink and then let's start the speedrun. All right, are you all ready? Let's begin. This is the Nakayama 1200 meter sprint track, the Sprinter Stakes. Leo Cup is a sprint track that has the greens right-handed summer runner, sunny days, firm conditions, standard distance, and Nakayama race course. We should be building our aces in Unity Cup 2.0. I don't know why this has been a point of contention recently. Unity Cup has higher stat caps, and at the end of the day, a 1300 speed Uma is going to be better than a 1200 speed Uma. It just requires simply too many skills to get to the point where that extra speed actually matters. They are just faster by a lot, and you can still grab all the skills through parents in Unity Cup that you could go through TrackBlazer. If you don't have the skills on parents, you probably should be getting those skills on parents eventually, so you should be borrowing a good sprint parent, and even just having it on the one side will usually be enough skill points to saturate most, if not all, of your skill points given by the Unity Cup scenario. More than anything, it is just faster by a lot. It takes only 20 to 25 minutes to do Unity Cup run, whereas a TrackBlazer run can take up to an hour, especially if you're thinking about every single turn, and you do not have the luxury of time at this moment, which is why I suggest doing your runs in Unity Cup. For the track itself, the only really thing that's unique about this track, there's 2 things, in fact, is that the start is neither a straight nor a corner, which means the only skills that can really proc are dedicated early race skills or downhill skills like downhill speedster or straight descent for pace chasers. Otherwise, standard early race will work. In the mid race, they are only corners. There is no straight. This 777 mark is not a straight. It is just corner 3 to corner 4. The position keep ends on a corner, so all corner skills will become your mid-race, and all your straight skills will become late race and generally safe from the Excel zone in the situations where you are winning. That spurt is on a second half final corner, so stuff like Taiki Shuttle as well as Nishino Flower Ultimate, if you're within the position bearings of that, will be very powerful as a perfect proc acceleration. Your stat requirements, because we are in Unity, the speed cap has been raised from 1200 to base 1300, so I suggest getting your speed as high as possible. You don't necessarily have to get exactly 1300 speed, but try to get that as high as possible. Get your power up to 1200 and get your wit up to 1100. You can try to add some guts as a luxury stat. It's not 100% required, and this is a sprint CM, so stamina is basically completely fake. If you are a front runner, you may need about 400 stamina to get through spot struggle, but other than that, the scenario is going to give you enough stamina no matter what you do. If you're running a guts build, note that guts is a luxury stat. You really shouldn't be sacrificing any power or really much wit at all to add more guts stat. The addition to speed is just not worth the amount of stuff you're losing from power, because this late race has this uphill at the very end that will cut your final speed anyways. Otherwise, that's pretty much the stat requirements. For accelerations, in general, everyone has access to Turbo Sprint, Ignite Spirit Power, and Corner Connoisseur as a gambling option, although these are less potent due to the timings as the various different role-based accelerations. Pace Chasers have access to Nishino Flower, Budding Blossom, to Shooting for Victory from Taiki Shuttle, as well as Head On and Neck and Neck, which were buffed along with the 7-1 patch. And with the new timings, they are really powerful and allow for those not in exactly third or fourth to also hit acceleration acceleration. This means that they can't really be boxed out, and they can also work in first place now because neck and neck also is only a front half. For front runners, they have access to the new second win, which is just a late race gamble, but angling and scheming is just not enough on its own. So you have to go and add some sort of additional gambling acceleration to hit that 0.6 that everyone else is also hitting. You could do that through grabbing one of the other general accelerations, or you can grab unrestrained, which has the best timing of any front runner acceleration skill, but is somewhat difficult to obtain. This is final push as a white. For late surgers, you do have the buffed on your left, which now has the same better timing that neck and neck also has, and you can combine that with let's pump some iron or the new white skill Leap Forward, which will eventually be on the Daichi Ruby card, but for now can only be grabbed through parents, and it's rather difficult to have. Otherwise, of course, grab more general skills, and end closers are basically late surges without access to on your left at this point, so you are relying heavily on somehow getting Leap Forward from your parents, or let's pump some iron through a pass into Redshift or Mayano Takan Ultimate, or some other form of overshoot like Nishino Flower or Taiki Shuttle, and just gambling on position base, but it is rather, let's say, inconsistent at that point. Late race now matters now because a lot of people, as you can see, you have a ton of excels available to you now, especially with the increase in Unity Cup, meaning Ignited Spirit Power and Guts are both available to pretty much everyone. Late race now needs to happen. You need to have some level of either home stretch haste or an inherit or at least something, and the more late race is usually the better after you get your standard mid race as well as your acceleration. Characters that do have a late race ultimate are generally really, really powerful, as we're seeing with Oguri Cap. Triumphant Pulse is a good skill, and when everyone is hitting, the one that will win is the one that has the most late race. For cards, just some suggestions. This is not an exhaustive list. Frontrunners do like the Marzensky card for top runner. You can go, if you're a front half of the pack, front or Pace Chaser, grab Bakashin for groundwork as well as Light as a Feather Gold. Pace Chasers can grab neck and neck from Daiwa Scarlet Power, or Find Motion can allegedly give Speed Star, but most likely will give you Prepared to Pass. Late surges really want on your left, so I suggest the Nice Nature Wit card. You can try to get Dauntless if you have nothing else to borrow as well, or the King Halo card for Blinding Flash. If you're a late surger or an end closer, it's just generally a good power static card that gives Umastan, as well as for end closers, you can grab Mr. CB for Daring Strike. In general, Throne is still a ridiculous card that gives a ton of skill points if you do not need any skills from borrows, and also Nakayama Festa as well as Curran-Chan Wit have been also seeing a lot of use recently just because of their stat output for these first two, and Curran-Chan Wit giving you a ton of sprint skills. Otherwise, we've gone over the SR cards before. The best ones probably are Sweep Tosha for the skill point bonus, Bakashin for the sprint skills, or Marvi Power event card for the late surge skills or Tail Held High and the general stat output, as well as Machikane Fukihitaru Wit being the best because it gives right-handed, as well as having Scenario Link, very high initial training, as well as high wit output. The rest of them were on the screen. For ease of building, Pace Chasers are by far the easiest because most of the stuff that you get are your accelerations given from the inherits and your parents. Late surges are slightly behind because you do kind of need on your left or a decent amount of acceleration options to compete with the Pace Chaser role. End closers just don't have on your left, so they're a little bit more difficult, and then front runners are the hardest by far because of the most skills. And the meta is basically the same thing. Pace Chasers are kind of running the meta a little bit, but late surgers are kind of eating into that win rate a little bit. Their gambling options are rather strong, and if they do hit, they are just faster, and if you go and stack enough late race on it, they are just faster than a Pace Chaser. So if they hit and they win. If otherwise, the Pace Chasers will take the win by default, followed by end closers and front runners. Unfortunately, with everyone else currently hitting right now and them having to gamble just like the rest of them, the late race speed is just a little bit more tough. Runaways also just kill front runners. If you see a runaway and you're a front runner, do not try to go and build excels for the situations where runaways happen. There is only a few runaways, and they rarely win themselves. Maybe 2.5% of the time you'll see a runaway, and if you do, your front runners are just going to die. You should go and build for the situations where the lobby is going to win. Also remember that Gold Chip does have a gun. 564 can go and move Dominator, Adored by All, Battle Formation. All the different debuffs can be moved onto the sprint track, although only one can proc. That was the speed run, so I'm going to grab a drink again. I think I went a little bit over that time, but that's fine. But I'm going to go over a few different characters that I think that are rather simple and easy to build that you can probably run in a run or two. For front runners, it's pretty difficult to suggest front runners in general. Of course, you can do V Bourbon. She just has everything in her kit. But I want to go and highlight Silent Suzuka as well. I try not to do just Bourbon every single CM, but Silent Suzuka this time because you need Unrestrained or some level of gambling acceleration. Unrestrained is just the best one, so you just grab all the front runner stuff on her, and she comes with concentration and early lead and fast pace through events. So you can just kind of put taking the lead and groundwork and all that and just see where she goes from there. You can also run her as a runaway, although she will win less in a runaway, but you do have the bones here to actually go and gamble a victory. Something I didn't mention is I personally like solo front if you're running front runners. I don't think you need multiple front runners to be, I would say, better. The win rate for them is rather low no matter what you do. And if you go and run into someone else running a front runner, it kind of works as a double front runner lobby. And solo front runner is still winning like, the same amount of win rate as double and triple is practically. So I don't think it really matters. You're either going to win through a perfect proc unrestrained or you're going to not win. For Pace Chaser, there's a lot of options. For the free-to-play option, Sakura Bakshino is a great choice because of the 20% speed and the 10% wit, as well as Genius X Bakshino equals victory. Because of the sheer amount of Pace Chasers there are, it's very likely that this actually procs in a very good position. It's either going to prime that final corner and trigger things like, pass ultimates like Shadow Break and stuff, or it's going to proc in a situation where you are going to speed carry over. She also has Light as a Feather in her events, as well as Pace Chaser straightaways and one of the gambling accelerations in Turbo Sprint. You could literally just do Turbo Sprint plus Head On and then probably one or the other of Nishino Flower or Taiki Shuttle Alt if you do not have access to both of the positional base accelerations, and just load up on mid race, and you can probably go from there and have a successful Bakashino as a free-to-play player. For those that own the character, both Taiki Shuttles are absolutely ridiculous. Shooting for Victory is a 0.4 on base Taiki Shuttle. She does have 20% speed, 10% wit, and she comes with a lot of stuff in her kit, including her secret event giving you head on and a bunch of skills, although this does require medium aptitude. The better version is the camping version now that head on has been buffed, because neck and neck in kit means that you just simply have a 0.4 near perfect proc in kit. So all you do is just put Nishino Flower alt to get that 0.6 and then possibly add like an IG power, but you don't necessarily need it. And the fact that you have a 0.5 triumphant pulse on this map in the situations where you're winning, because most likely you're very close, as we're finding at the 200 meter mark, to the leader. It's just the best late race skill in the game right now for this particular track. So Taiki Shuttle Camping is above regular Taiki Shuttle, although both of them can be used as well and have the same events as well. She does have Pace Chaser Corners and Light as a Feather as well, just like regular Taiki Shuttle does. Nishino Flower is also a great idea just because of the fact she has Beeline Burst for the late race. This was buffed to 3 seconds, so it is a lot better. Determined Descent, I would suggest taking only straight descent because it is only acceleration 0.2 versus acceleration 0.3. So it's just you're using a lot of skill points for what is essentially an early race acceleration. It's half of a shrewd step if that really puts it into perspective. Budding Blossom is the counterpart to Shooting for Victory. And Budding Blossom, the block side continue time that you have to do in the mid race is just going to happen with the sheer number of Pace Chasers that there are. Firm Conditions in kit, Head On as an event, I believe, Sprinting Gear and Corner Depth in kit as well, should make it rather easy for you to build one. Plus the speed and power bonus is just exactly what you are looking for. For late surgers, Bamboo Memory is kind of purpose built for this. I just built one of these myself. It's honestly a rather fun character to do. Red Hot Discipline kind of is a supplementary acceleration, which means you have to hit a primary acceleration or hit some sort of speed carryover, and the acceleration given from it is not particularly enough to win on its own. So you still want on your left on the character. However, this character just gives a ton of different sprint skills in particular, which is really nice when you're building parents and stuff, because you can just focus on the late surger skills, which are more applicable to the rest of the general champions meetings in the future. And so the parents that you're building are just going to be more useful later on than trying to go and grab all the sprint skills, which you were really only using for this champions meeting, and I think there's maybe one in Grand Live, but you're not really using the sprint parents for anything else. So having sprint straights and sprint corners in the kit itself means that, yeah, like I said, you just put late surger straights, corners, and a bunch of things that can possibly speed carry over. Grab your on your left, possibly grab another supplementary acceleration, and grab a ton of late race, and you have a perfectly built Bamboo Memory that has 10 speed, 10 power as well to help you out. The free-to-play version would be King Halo, who doesn't have the absolute most stuff in kit for you, but she does have a good point sync in Blinding Flash. I didn't talk about Blinding Flash because it is technically less efficient than the rest of the accelerations. It is technically a hybrid skill, which means that if it procs late, you at least get some value as a late race skill, but it is inefficient in that regard. In exchange, if it does proc early, it is the same timing as Turbo Sprint, for example. It does give you a decent amount of acceleration that really helps you out when basically combining with On Your Left as well. Auto proficiency, auto spell in kit. Prideful King. Do not be dissuaded by the 4th through 6th position this CM, because a lot of people, a lot of Umas are bunching up in the front of the pack at the 200 meter mark. There are many situations where the 4th place position is only like a half or a quarter length away from the rest of the pack. King Halo is really powerful. Quarter from the lead, sorry. King Halo is incredibly powerful because you can go and combine Prideful King with a Oguri Cap Inherent. And while yes, you can go and do the same thing on an Oguri Cap, King Halo's affinity is just in general much worse. So the parents that you build from King Halo are usually a lot worse than the parents that you are actually looping with Oguri Caps. So King Halo is strong in her own right with a 20% power bonus really helping you out, and I think that in a couple runs you can really get the hang of it, and I suggest personally Late Surger just because it's just easy to throw On Your Left on this character. You can technically run her as a pace chaser if you do have the 1 aptitude required for it. For end closers, it's rather difficult to suggest a character. The one I think that's having the most success that has a decent sprint aptitude, which when I say decent, it's still rough, but none of the end closers have good sprint aptitudes, is Sweep Tosho, and that's because Victory Belongs to Me Strelitzia. As long as you don't get rushed, which you have restraint in kit to help with that, you're basically going to proc this. There's just a ton of pace chasers. You're always going to be in the back. That final corner is basically halfway through the race, so there's like no way you're getting past the position keep to get in the front half of the pack. So Victory Belongs to Me Strelitzia is just a safe 300 meter 6 second 0.35, which is basically a triumphant pulse. It's like 9% worse than it, but that doesn't matter because you're also an end closer who is faster in general and has the very difficult to acquire skill Slipstream, which is rather good. Also, Petrifying Gaze is an okay late race white skill that if you go and you are able to hit the people in front of you, it's rather good. It's just less value than the other skills in the kit, but it is also a very good skill point sink and closer corners in kit as well. An honorable mention, I did not technically include this because of the Sprint E aptitude on a pace chaser, but do note that Oguri Cap is the probably most, highest win rate, best character on this CM in my personal opinion, besides maybe Taiki Shuttle Camping, and a lot of people just have her. Oguri Cap is an absolute menace with Triumphant Pulse, and while she only gives Nimble Navigator, which is practically nothing because Nimble Navigator is not necessarily the most reliable at all, and of course, No Stopping Me is given by the scenario, if you're able to throw enough stuff to saturate your skill points on this character, you're going to find that Triumphant Pulse will go and steal you quite a few victories in either the pace or the late surger position. She's technically slightly better, I believe, in the pace chaser position, but other than that, she is a perfectly fine character to build if you're able to go and throw everything on it. I think that's all the characters that I want. Just note that, hey, we have Grand Light coming up. It's kind of okay to go past the registration day this time. It's technically against the anti-frustration plan that I do set out for myself. This whole stuff with the 7.1 patch has kind of made it so it's difficult for me to even get there, and I know for a lot of people having to basically rebuild everything from scratch and try to figure everything else, there isn't really anything much we can do to prepare for the next Champions meeting except for general parent building. So what I would say is try to get your passable Umas now, and then you can start enjoying the Champions meeting. I don't suggest building it past the first day of actually racing, but do note that we are kind of in a limbo while we wait for Grand Live after this registration starts. Or you can just go and start building parents like I'm doing for Grand Live. In general, stamina sparks are going to be really powerful, especially for this first Champions meeting being a 2,000 meter dirt that requires a decent amount of stamina. And that is really going to be the difference between whether or not you can run the really powerful Speed Whip deck, or if you're going to have to start compensating for a power or a stamina card. And you really don't necessarily want to do that because it does lower your efficiency greatly. So what I would suggest is try to get your passable Umas, and then go from there. Either decide to build an ace run or two, or just go and start trying to loop your parents, get your good skills on them. I'll be making more parent guides coming out. There is probably a parent guide I'm going to link here in the top right corner of my emergency guide for it. But I think that's going to be the fun of the game until Grand Live actually appears. Remember, this is a sprint CM, so it's all going to be chaos no matter what we do. So you can go and build the best Umas in the world, but I think you're still going to lose quite a bit of the time. I think the highest win rates I've seen from people that have been anecdotally just sent to me is like 75, 80% rather than the normal 90 to 95%. So don't get frustrated if you do all this effort on the sprint CM and you still lose. Just like the Chukyo 1200 meter, while this is less chaotic than the Chukyo 1200 meter, it is still absolute chaos. Let's have a lot of fun with this champions meeting. I will try to stream it best I can. And then I need to start working on the CM17 guide, I guess. And I have to figure out Grand Live because I have to talk about the champions meeting without seeing the scenario. Yeah, I should probably get on that. Well, take care, everyone. Good luck. Burp out.